That scene of the water crashing in that looked exactly like the poster. And for some reason, those big round white tables with the men rolling over them, that was really terrifying. I sound like a total wuss, but later, when they re-released it, I think that following summer, I jaded myself to it. I went every weekend. I walked up to the mall, sometimes with my little friends and sometimes not, and just watched it again and again and again until I loved it. I looked forward to it. I rooted for the guy that fell in the light. It was fiction, unlike Titanic, which was real and tragic. I could root for the guy that got smashed by the piano, and the woman that fell over the rail, and all of those things were wonderful. I would draw pictures. The Viewmaster came out. Oh, and I finally had some images of it. This was before VCRs or picture books. I didn't have any of that stuff, and I loved it. I was mad about it. And I suppose I should mention here that the Poseidon Adventure did very well at the box office. The song, The Morning After, got an Academy Award, and they even printed it as sheet music. I couldn't really tell you how much it grossed or any of that kind of technical info. It did very well for those of you who might think it was a cheesy film. It's somewhere here in all my volumes of stuff, but I don't know. I just like the people falling and the dishes breaking. Anyway, oh, you might have noticed my beard went away. Yeah, that's a little thing called continuity, and you'll learn about that when you see my video. Anyway, some years later, after the re-release, television did what I considered one of the best things in the history of TV.
ABC. Sunday. Movies. The special world television premiere of The Poseidon Adventure.
I had it on audio cassette, and there was nothing better in the world. Of course, I didn't have the movie. I just had my little Viewmaster, and of course the movie edition of the book, which had these little teeny-weeny pictures of the stars and this little teeny-weeny picture of the ballroom scene. But anyway, let's fast forward a few years, please. Okay, so I'm in high school. I'm still obsessing, making paintings and drawings. Well, towards the end of my high school years, I decided to have parties, New Year's parties, based on the capsizing of the Poseidon. My little teen friends and I didn't have much to do back then in New Year's of 1978, 9, 80, 81, and so we held these parties on New Year's Eve, usually anywhere from my bedroom to somebody's enclosed back porch, and we would trash the room and then have a party afterwards. We would scrounge a Christmas tree from a nearby alley, because it was the season, and I usually ended up playing the minister in my little white turtleneck and blazer. And I think it was when I was well into my college years, I took a class in video production, and I begged them to allow me to realize my Poseidon obsession, along with another obsession, and that's handbags. See, I did have something of a life outside that film. I liked cockroaches, I liked the 1950s, I liked Harrison Ford and Parker Stevenson, and purses really intrigued me. I have about 300 to date, but I wanted to somehow involve them with Poseidon. And I didn't know how to use a video camera, so I pitched this to the class, and some of the more advanced members indulged me, and we did the first version of the Poseidon Adventure, which was actually a video called Victims of Circumstance. It was actually a parody of disaster films, but my Poseidon got in there. We used the Memorial Union building at Arizona State University and dressed it up like the ballroom. I've drawn that Poseidon figure, those marble pillars, a million times now for parties. And purses were a theme. Purses were the centerpieces on the tables. In the video, a great big purse hits the ship. The capsizing scene was, of course, way too abbreviated for my tastes, but we did it nonetheless, and we even got fancy and had a fog machine for special effects. How about that? This is some of the documentary footage taken in the class while we were making the video, and as you can see, we had a very fancy editing system at our disposal. This was college, and it was part of a lab, but I wasn't at the helm, and It wasn't until after I graduated that I got a camcorder. I got a VHS camcorder, full size. They're dinosaurs now, but I just thought that was deluxe. Here is that very same camcorder today. Yes, it has seen better days, but you know what? I still think these things are totally tits, and I buy them up whenever I can find them. Well, my video work. It's the early 90s. I got something more of a life, a house and all of that, and I was busy, but my videos dealt with mayhem since the Poseidon Adventure was so embedded in me, and mayhem and chaos were sort of trademarks of mine. My videos involved women running around with giant cockroaches in restaurants, upsetting the patrons, tables turning over, Barbie dolls being chased by creatures and crashing in social spaces and knocking over tables. Something about people in formal wear and chaos, as long as it was fictional. I really loved it. I get excited if a dish breaks. Anyway, those were my videos. I started doing photo montage art, which were self-portraits of a sort, in which I would portray all the people in the picture. Not using Photoshop, I would take pictures of myself and assemble them into images like this. They took place in the 1950s, which is another admitted obsession of mine, and I thought, wouldn't it just be fun to try and be a bunch of people? And so I would. And I realized I could do it with Poseidon Adventure too. Some of the images were kind of rough because I didn't know all the details or just exactly how it looked based on the videotapes that I now owned of the film. But I tried, and then a really incredible thing happened. A really incredible thing. Via the computer, in the mid-90s, I met other people who were into this movie. Just like Star Trek fans, there are people, wonderful people, who are as into this film as I am, if not more. They too rolled around in their rooms and pulled furniture around and screamed. They too recorded the soundtrack off the TV with their little cheap tape recorders. And unlike myself, they have been able to find media, stills, articles and pictures about the film that I had no idea existed. And through the graciousness and kindness of a lot of those fans, I have been able to amass these images that I could study. And this thing is like my Bible. This and lots of other stuff under this couch I'm sitting on. So all this Poseidon nourishment really got me in gear for finishing this video. I thought, I've got to really do something with this. It started out being a 5-minute spoof. That was it. But it grew and grew and grew, and it became so big, I really bit off more than I could chew with this project. It's been about 7 years in the making. I have to say it did get some press. The New Times did a piece on it, a cover story in fact, and they did a great story and used pictures, images that I had taken while I was working on the project, but they couldn't really tell when and where it was going to be done or shown or anything like that. Channel 3 News came out to the house when I got my dining salon done, and I was Shelley Winters, and all of Arizona saw that. Speaking of the salon, the garage acted as my setting for this project. The one-car garage is the dining salon, the galley, the engine room, the boiler room, all of it takes place in there. I still can't park my car out there. It's been a very labor-intensive project, but all the while I was doing this, I was attending these Poseidon conventions, screenings that were held on board the Queen Mary. They would invite the stars. I painted a backdrop of my beloved dining salon and contributed it, and the stars sat in front of it for the Q&A. I got to meet the featured extras, the people who sat at the tables and didn't say a thing, but they were the ones that remembered things like, was there real food used? Yes. Did they use real dishes? Yes. Did they break? Yes. And they hurt? Questions I wanted to ask since I was 7 and 8 years old, and I was finally able to ask the people that were in the movie. I met a woman who is in this video, who was an actual extra in the Poseidon Adventure, and she attended a capsize party that I had here and videotaped, and we'll see her in the video. Wonderful things like this, just all happening at once, coming at me, nourishing me, as I said, and egging me on to get this video project done. And